Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the latest broadcast of HBMA Live. Welcome. Today we have a new HBMA member who's joined us to chat about the revenue cycle management industry, healthcare, HBMA, and other issues that I think will be of great interest to you. We have with us today Vishy Sahadavan of TIND, one of our newest members. Hi, Vishy. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent, Kurt. Thanks for actually having me on this call. Really excited to share my thoughts.
Well, thank you too. I'm glad to have you here, and we get to have a different perspective, as I mentioned, from previous guests. Well, that's one of the fun aspects of live. You never know what's going to happen, right? So, Vishy, I understand you're actually newer to the revenue cycle management industry. What was your pathway to RCM? What brought you into the industry?
Okay, let me just give you a quick rundown of my journey. Okay.
Sure.
I came to US in 1994 from London, UK, after being there for 3 years. My background is computer science. I'm a major in computer science, and also my passion is on finance. So I started my career in the IT industry, worked in the industry since 1991, grew up in that industry, went all the way to becoming a senior vice president for Bank of America in that field, both in IT and finance, before actually one day decided to move into healthcare, just like that. Okay, so from 2010, I've been in the healthcare industry. I've worked as a consultant for like about 5 years, helping the current organization as a CFO, and also taking care of the back-end RCM functions, managing that. And then in 2015, took over the role of a chief administrative officer for the largest neurology practice in Dallas Metroplex area with about 30 providers.
Oh, wow.
And that's my background in a nutshell, a quick rundown.
Okay. But that's on the provider side. So then what brings you to revenue cycle management?
Okay, even though I was on the provider side, because I came from the finance industry, I was brought in to just basically come and take care of the billing side and basically making sure that we're collecting. When I came into the organization was doing very well, working very hard, but they were not making the money. It's not just purely they were not collecting the money. It's just as basically sometimes they won't even submit the charges. They work hard, they don't submit the charges.
Oh, wow.
So I was brought in to basically come and help them. So with a different perspective, coming from outside world. So I don't have any knowledge about healthcare when I came into the field in 2010. So I have to learn everything from scratch myself. So I have to look at every process, to look at it from ground up and see what it is. Why is it not working? Why they're not collecting money? They're working really hard. So I actually have to work with, and then we actually had a partner at that time, an RCM vendor. I had a great partner, but what I would like to say is they're very good doers. They're not thinkers, correct? So you tell them it's an outsourced company, and we outsourced to them. And when I was working with them, I found out they're actually really, really good in doing things. They are very good in just doing same thing again and again, but they're not thinking outside the box. They don't actually. So that's what was my major challenge in 2010 when I came in. So I got to reinvent some of the wheels using my process operations expertise and my other expertise that I got from the other industry. So that's how I got involved in revenue cycle management. So I actually, since 2010 to last year, managed the entire RCM company, every member sitting here working with an offshore vendor. So I learned the tricks of the RCM. I have to learn it because at the end of the day, we have to make money. And just to let you know, even in COVID terms, we made 10% more than the previous year. So that's what we do, fine tune the processes very closely, working with them very closely, see what they can bring into the table, leverage their skills, and on top of it, add our own skills to make sure that we are on top of things.
Very good. And then you reached out and actually became a member of HBMA earlier this year. So yes, welcome aboard as a new member. So what was it about wanting to get involved in HBMA and other trade associations? You've been in the industry, but so what prompted the move?
Okay, so a couple of things. Last couple of years, I've been heads down on the RCM side, making sure that the team is my we are making profits. We are actually making not only profits. I want to make sure that our focus is to keep our doctors productive. Correct. We have 30 doctors, and they're costly. They're expensive. So we need to make sure we are on top of things. And one
Right.
of the main thing is the RCM. And since I moved from a different industry, I did not know what to look for in the healthcare industry. So,
Mhm.
and I am also heads down on a lot of things. This year, I kind of transitioned my day-to-day operations of the RCM to uh, the company as well as my chief operating officer. So I have a lot more
Mhm.
time now because my main focus is to keep developing the business, growing the business, and also making sure that we are actually collecting the money properly. Correct. So,
Right.
so now since I got some time, I was actually started looking at how do I I don't have an official healthcare degree in my belt under my belt. So
Mhm.
I wanted to do what can I do to basically get the certification. So I was looking at all of our I was looking at HBMA, I was looking at MGMA, all of the other organizations, AAHIM, HFMA,
Right.
and also ACHE. So to see what actually and everybody has got their own unique areas of focus, and I found HBMA to be more focused on the revenue cycle, and
Mhm.
that's what attracted me to come into HBMA and start looking at what they are offering, what can I get out of it, and then how can I basically grow myself to the next level. Correct. I learned most of the things by my own. Now I'm actually leveraging the skill sets of the people who have done it, and want to learn from the experts.
That's great, and that's something that I've heard time and again from members, those who've been members for a long time, and those that are newer. They've come to HBMA to help themselves grow professionally, to help their companies grow. They've gotten answers, like you said. They've been able to network with colleagues and learn. It's that sharing that is really one of the powerful benefits of HBMA.
Absolutely good, and I've learned a lot from what I've so far in the from the beginning of the year. I've learned a lot from HPMA. I look for certain things, and I actually go there to get the information. But as I said, not everything is available in one place. I always go around to look for what I needed. Um, but I just coming from the provider side of it, what I actually look at, if I were in an RCM industry today or RCM vendor today,
Mhm.
what I would do is basically all along, to the most part, all of the RCM vendors only provide the backend support, meaning after the claims are dropped, they are actually going after the submitting the claims and basically collecting the money. So that's what mostly people from the RCM industry are more focused on. But
Correct.
what actually happens is with the trend in current industry, particularly, see, previously it used to be more you collect more from the payers, less from the patients. Now the trend is changing because with the current deductibles skyrocketed, most of the our biggest payer now is the patient. So we need to change our thought process on how to collect the money upfront, because when they come and see the patient and go, it's very difficult to collect. So we got to revamp our thought process. We got to think about how do we actually streamline things to collect the money even before they come and see the patient, pay the doctor, right?
Mhm.
Because once they see the doctor and go, it's very difficult to collect the money from them. So,
Right.
because there's no obligation, it's kind of like you got to chase them. Like at least in the payer side of it, there is an obligation. They have to pay this by this much time, correct?
Yep.
So that's kind of a different perspective right now. That the trend is changing, and that is what attracted me to basically come to HPMA to look at what are the other RCM vendors are doing. I'm not only associated with TIND, which is the largest neurology practice. I'm also associated with MSOs as well. So I'm always looking for what others are doing, how they are doing better than what my current vendor is doing. Correct. So that's always looking for it. And the main reason I came to is to look at the RCM pricing points. That's what attracted me to HBMA to the first when I
Uh,
started looking for it. Nobody had it, and HBMA had it, and that's what attracted me to HBMA in the first place.
our billing fee survey.
Well, yes, billing fee service. So 2020 billing fee service, because I wanted to see where I am. Okay,
Yep.
even though I had a very competitive rate, but I wanted to see it's not it's not cheap is better, correct? It's always like what you can get out of
Right.
them for the same price, or what, or even if it's a higher price, what value they're adding. So that's what I'm more interested in.
Of course, and that's one of the things that, it's wonderful about the market is it adds so many options for customers from patients. Some may want a lower price but with it, of course, come lower services. Some may pay more for higher services. And And the survey, of course, helps you understand just, what companies are charging, but also what services are built in, what they're charging for other services that might be add-ons. So I'm glad you found that and found your way to HBMA. And you're probably aware we're also doing a new benchmarking surveys this year too. So hopefully
Yes,
you'll
sir.
participate.
I'm looking forward for that. I actually saw the YouTube cast last month, and I'm looking forward for that deliverable to see. So I'm excited to see that one.
Yeah, I'm excited about seeing that too, and looking forward to wrapping that up. So, companies out there, if you haven't yet participated in the new benchmarking survey, it's still open. So, if you want to write to info@hbma.org for more information, or look on our website, uh, we'd be happy to get you plugged in to participate. It's open to members and non-members, and data science is one of the areas where we work. But it's interesting, Vishy. You're newer to HBMA, but you jumped right in. You got involved right away.
Yes, sir. So one thing is, at least my dad always used to tell me, you have to sow the seeds before you reap the rewards. It doesn't matter what it is. So
Right.
for me, it's all about giving. I actually wanted to first sow the seeds, and I know that the rewards will come. And our philosophy in our organization is also see one patient at a time.
Mm-hmm.
The money will come. So don't worry about seeing 100 patients at a time. Just see one patient at a time to the fullest extent, to the fullest satisfaction. Money will follow. Same thing. Like I believe in actually giving before I actually start receiving. So I wanted to basically contribute due to some restrictions this year, particularly. I couldn't able to devote my time as much as I wanted. But again, I strongly believe in that. That's one of the reasons I wanted to jump in, because the two things, correct? You got to be in the trenches to learn yourself certain things, correct? You can be at the high level, learn certain things, but you have to be in the trenches to learn certain things. And also, the best way to teach learners, the best way is to teach. So you better go and learn so that you can teach the others if I'm going to talk to somebody else. True.
I think that's a really healthy philosophy. We appreciate you bringing it to HBMA. So, and thank you. So you've been involved in our membership committee, and you're helping just talk about HBMA to the broader community. We appreciate that. So, what do you see changing in the industry, though? You talked a little bit about how you've seen a shift, and it sounds like you're a little bit of an innovator. Are there other sort of observations you've seen during your time focused on RCM versus more on the provider side, provider services?
Yeah, I actually one of the things I'm very passionate about, looking at things and doing it differently. And my priority is always being productive, always being productive. Keep the doctors productive, correct? It's not busy, because if they are busy and they're not making money, it's no use. It has to be a combination of keeping them busy and also making them productive, correct? So I've invented as along the course of this, because coming from a different field, I didn't have anything, I didn't know, first of all, I'm not saying I didn't have it. I didn't know where to go look for. I was actually in the trenches, so I was not looking outside. So I was actually trying to figure it out most of the things myself. I put in a lot of processes, which I'm very proud of. We are a very large size organization, 20-25 plus million organization. I put in processes where I can predict to the dot, and I say to the dot, less than 0.005% accuracy of my projection versus actuals. I can tell on the 10th of the month, I can tell exactly how much money I'm going to get. So, and last year, my projection versus actuals was 0.006% difference more. So I'm very proud of that, because that took a lot of time for me to do that one. That's why I always look at the RCM vendor as, you cannot be just doing things to meet the needs. You have to add a lot of value to the client. So if I'm a client, I'm looking at an RCM vendor, I want the RCM vendor to be part of the journey right from end to end. Okay, as I was telling, don't just give me the solution at the back end, because right now everything is shifting towards the front end. The more effective and efficient you are on the front end, the less things you have to work on the back end. Otherwise, you're going to be basically doing a lot more on the back end, and that keeps continuing. So we put in a lot of pressure, a lot of measures on that front from all the way from the beginning. As I said, in today's world, if I have to basically go after the money, I'll have to look at even up front, even before seeing the patient, as I was talking before, looking at how is the patient, looking at the demographics. There is also tools and leverage the current trends in technology and tools, okay? Patient demographic discovery, patient propensity to pay. All these things come up front. Okay, you look at the patient by looking at the information. Go after them even before they come and see us. Okay, and then try to basically automate the payments upfront, meaning like use the latest and greatest technology, use the text to basically make the payments. Okay, remind them before we come. We do actually have a lot of things put in place on that front, and that's what we recommend, or at least we have to do today, shifting our focus from the back end to the front end to do it. Now, once you do that one, you also, when you are as a trusted partner, like today's world, what everybody is looking at is, okay, it's very efficient, it's very costly to have even the front end actually done here. So people are looking at how can I outsource my scheduling? How can I outsource my front end, authorization, verification of benefits, all of those things. Now people, old days, it all used to be done in-house. Now people are looking for a comprehensive solution from a vendor who can do all of these things, correct? Not just, okay, I submit that, I drop my claims, go collect the money, correct? It's not anymore that one. You have to start thinking it all the way from the beginning till the end and give a comprehensive solution. I would rather have one vendor who's actually can be providing me all these solutions, correct? So once they come in, and then looking at my doctor's productivity, we look at our doctor's productivity to the 15th minute, like every 15 minutes. So every day they have 34 slots or 32 slots, depending on whether they work 8 hours or 8.5 hours, and we track them to the 15 minutes. So when we track them to the 15 minutes, we know exactly how much productive they are. They get a report on a weekly basis. Hey, you are 95% productive last week or 25% productive last week. So that keeps us going. In today's economy, you got to be on top of all these things. And when you're looking at the RCM vendor, I'm looking for an RCM vendor who's actually can able to help me along the line on all areas, not just one area.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it's interesting because your observation actually is in line with the change that HBMA made a few years ago. Back in 2017, we changed the name of HBMA. So I don't know if you're aware of this. It used to be the Healthcare Billing and Management Association.
Now it's business.
Yeah, exactly. So it went from medical billing to revenue cycle management.
True.
Which is a fuller suite of services that you're describing. So it's interesting. So you sort of put your finger on the change as well that's happened in the industry.
Yes, and that's what I actually, if I were in an RCM industry and I'm an RCM owner, that's what I will be start looking at is. And then today is all about automation. Okay.
Yes.
And it's always like with all the reductions happening in the industry, healthcare is cutting costs across the board, and you got to be on top of automation. And that's what I always say. Like wherever you can, you need to automate it. And if it is a not a very complex process, or if it is like a process that needs a lot of thinking or interactions, correct? Other than that, anything else which is a mundane task which can be done should be automated. And if you are not actually ahead of that one right now in the RCM industry, you're gone very soon, because a lot of people are jumping into it, and most of them are very, very well advanced into it. And that's one of the areas what we are actually doing it, as well as automating as much as all redundant, mundane processes that doesn't need manual intervention or thinking. And then keep the core functionalities, and then with the right people in place. It's all about team. It's all about having the right people and actually treating them well to make sure that they give the best of the best. So that's what we actually do on a day-to-day basis. And again, coming from the provider side of it and doing the RCM functionalities myself, I get the understanding of both worlds, the challenges on both worlds. Like I can basically sit and figure out the entire RCM reports in 15 minutes today, because that's what I was doing it. That gives me a different perspective. I can think differently than many of the people who do not do it on a day-to-day basis, but I have done that one. So as I said, like I've been in the trenches, I have to figure it out. And that's what made me learn the things what I am today. But I got to move to the next level. That's what I'm looking at organizations like HBMA and other organizations, because there's a lot more available in the industry that I am not aware of. And I'm looking forward to basically learn from the others.
Oh, great. Well, Vishy, it seems like you've also got a really good sense and vision around metrics and performance metrics and following those closely. So don't be surprised if I follow up with you and ask you to come on board the data science committee as well. I think you might be able to help us with our work in terms of developing performance metrics.
Definitely, that's my bread and butter. I used to do that one for my finance industry and also in the IT industry. So that's my core skill. So I'll be happy to do that one. And I look at it because in today's world, you got to be on top of metrics
Yeah.
because everything is derived around metrics. If you want to make somebody accountable, it's very difficult. If I come and tell you, Kurt, like, okay, you got to do these 5 things, and they're saying I'm already doing it, there's no way to prove it either way unless you have a metrics to show that, hey, this is what your metrics is showing. I'm not telling anything. This is what
Right.
your metrics showing. You just basically follow that one. It's not for just for you, it's for me as well. I have to at the end of the day report to my board of directors, and I have to tell them this is what I've accomplished. So
Yes.
when I put the process in place, like when you're a business owner, the first thing you worry about the cash flow in the beginning of the day. Okay.
Mhm.
First, you don't brush your teeth. We don't actually. The first thing we do is get up, look at the bank balance to make sure that there is enough money to pay the payroll and other things. Correct. That's
Right.
the first thing you always look at it. Correct. So in
Yep.
order to be on top of that, you got to have the right metrics to make sure that you are actually collecting the money. Otherwise, how are you going to make from a provider standpoint? I always actually have to be on top of things like, okay, my RCM team is doing right. Again, not on based on what I know. Okay. So I have to put the process in place so that I know that on a daily basis, I'm not chasing them. The process tells me whether
Yep.
they're doing it or not. I can easily, sitting in US, see exactly how my 50 employees across the globe are doing. If two,
Mhm.
3 people doesn't show up, they may not tell me. I can see the metrics and say like, hey, what happened to this one? This is not happening. And they will tell me,
Right.
oh, they're on vacation this week. That's how you can track it as well. So you've got to be, and the more you automate, the better it is. And if I am looking for an RCM vendor, and I know that there are many RCM vendors probably on the call right now, as a provider organization, as a client, I always look for somebody who can actually help me from an end-to-end standpoint and come up with a solution. Correct? Okay, here are the solutions for these functionalities. We have RCM functions mapped out already. You can take all of the RCM functions and say these are the solutions for each one of them, and they can come and tell me. And or not, I'm not just telling me, but I'm just telling anybody if they are actually happen to have serve a client, and they can go and provide that service from an end-to-end standpoint. That makes a whole lot of things for the client.
Right. Yeah, that's an important perspective that RCM companies can bring to the providers. The providers may not think about their cash flow, and that's critical for them to stay open, to be able to pay their employees, to be able to provide the care that they went to school to learn how to do.
Yes. And we are very, very strong. Like we have 15, like 12 offices. I know how much money is collected in each office by each person to the dot on a next day morning. We know exactly. That's how we got to track it. You got to be, the devil is in the details. If you don't actually look at the details, again, you are not going to make it happen. So I'm passionate about those things. I'm very particular because at the end of the day, because the doctors will ask me like, where is my 1 cent? Where's my $1? Why didn't you collect that $1? Correct. So
Oh,
you
wow.
got to be on top of it. But again, there are a lot of things happening in the industry right now, and COVID has actually taught us a lot of things. But right now, since things are coming back to normal, people have really different expectations right now. So they want, they are used to something, patients are used to something, the providers are used to a lot of things during the COVID time. Now things are changing on a constant basis as well. On top of that, reimbursements are getting slashed left and right.
Mhm.
So it's a very different it's a very, I won't say difficult market, I will say it is a challenging environment. You got to be on top of it to make sure you survive.
Yeah.
So
Well, I appreciate that perspective, Ishi. So thank you for joining us. I just wanted to open it up to see if there are any questions or comments from our audience. If anyone has a comment you'd like to share or a question for Vishy, feel free to drop it in the chat box. We'll be wrapping up in a couple minutes, but we have a moment to take a question or two if there are any out there. And sometimes there are none. Sometimes it's quiet. And that's fine too. I guess people then have learned some insights from you. So Vishy, I really appreciate you taking time and also your engagement with HBMA for being a new member and an active member. So those of you who have not yet gotten involved in HBMA, invited to join. Again, you can visit hbma.org or email us at info@hbma.org to get more information. And if you are a member, hopefully you're open to joining a committee the way Vishy did after just a couple months of being a member. And finally, Vishy, I hope we'll see you in Dallas. I forgot to ask you.
I've already registered for the conference, and I'm going to
Great.
be there. So I'm really excited to see all of you in person.
Yes.
And Kurt, thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. It's really nice to be in front of our audience to share my view. And thanks again for giving me this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Vishy, as well. Have a good day. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.